Hello, everybody, and welcome to the top 5 new comics for March 5th of 2025. I'm, as always, Chris, and really excited about this week of comics, so let's jump right in with The Ultimates, number 10. This is written by Deniz Camp, with art by Juan Frigeri, colors by Federico Blee, letters by Travis Lanham. I'm not going to go over the Ultimate Universe. We're almost 2 years in at this point. You guys get it. I love the Ultimate Universe. This book in particular was a big shock to me because at the beginning of the reimagined Ultimate Universe, I thought that the Ultimates was a book you hold off on. You wait for it when you're 2-3 years in, make a big splash, maybe have it come out of a big event or something. And they decided in the first 6 months, no, we're just doing the Ultimates. And I was curious about it, seeing what it was. And I ended up really enjoying the book and the direction they took with it, what they decided to do with this team. And for it to be more of the universe-spanning book where we can meet all the new characters and see all the new pieces on the board. And it's also the book that's leading up to that big event when the Maker comes out and they have to take him on. So there's a lot of cool things happening in this. And my other favorite part about this book is it's become kind of the character of the week, or character of the month, if you will, book. In this case, we're getting two of my favorite Marvel characters. We are getting Namor and this version of Red Skull. So it looks like they're transforming Red Skull into a gang. It kind of reminds me of the Batman Beyond with the Joker gang, at least how they're describing it. We'll see. I hope we get a definitive Red Skull that Cap fought during World War II, but I don't know. There's also a lot of questions about Cap's past and how the Maker affected that, and like where he comes in on everything. But just to have, even if it is an alternate universe, to have any Marvel comic book where Captain America, Jim Hammond, the Human Torch, and Namor are fighting together in some way, I'm in. 100% there. Love it. That team right there is the team that got me into comics. Those old World War II and newer World War II comics where we have the invaders or the defenders of that time and all these different teams with that core at the center of it is my favorite stuff in comics. So I love this book, and it's a perfect marriage that I get to talk about it because it's great characters that I'm really enjoying, and I just cannot recommend the Ultimate Universe enough. After that, I have Star Wars Jedi Knights number 1. This is written by Marc Guggenheim with art by Madibek Musabekov, colors by Luis Guerrero, and letters by Clayton Cowles. It's a number 1 Star Wars book, of course. I'm excited for it. I love Star Wars. I'm really enjoying when Marvel is diving into the prequel world because I've always felt those prequel movies have a lot of flaws in them. There's a lot of issues with it, and there's been a lot of revisionist history about those movies. I'll say from the beginning, like, I thought episode 1's fine. It was whatever. Episode 2 is an unwatchable mess. I mean, as somebody that watches it regularly, it's an unwatchable mess. Episode 3 is okay. But the time period, the world that's there's so much to build from, and I believe that for a long time because one of my favorite Star Wars things of all time was the Clone Wars, and we've talked about that in this series with the Bad Batch comic and a few other books. So there's so much to mine from that time that we can do. And I love the idea here. Marc Guggenheim and his crew are going to do like a 5-issue miniseries set in that prequel era, and we're going to focus on the Jedi Knights of that time, which is, while a lot of people think like that's Star Wars is Jedis, these were characters that didn't get enough screen time, and at least in those movies. And you get to see a lot of them during the Clone Wars cartoon, which made you fall in love with these characters a lot. That's why, to this day, Ahsoka is like a huge Star Wars character because she grew up during that time period and grew up with us as fans. So I'm really excited. We're going to get the ones you want. We're going to get a Qui-Gon Jinn story. We're going to get an Obi-Wan story, a Yoda story, a Mace story, so on and so on and so on. And it looks like Count Dooku is somehow involved as well. Although in the cover, it shows him with a blue lightsaber, not a red lightsaber. So I'm just nerding out about Star Wars stuff here. I think it's going to be a fun, cool book. Mark's been doing a lot of comic work, and it's been exciting to have somebody his caliber in our world working, and to see him really diving in a lot of Star Wars stuff as well. As a fan of the property, of the IP, I just am super excited. And we'll see. These Star Wars books don't last long in my top 5, but when a new one comes out, I like to talk about it, and they're exciting. So let's jump over to Hyde Street number 4. This is written by Geoff Johns with art by Ivan Reis, inks by Danny Miki, and colors by Brad Anderson. The horror book that could. I have never been the biggest horror fan in the world. I have my things in horror that I enjoy, but I'm not the guy that buys every horror book. But I am the guy who really enjoys a good Geoff Johns and Ivan Reis book. So, just Reis doing this kind of art just shows and reminds me of why he was my favorite artist at DC. Like his style is so great. It's so larger than life and imaginative and just phenomenal. The dude, how DC let him leave, I don't know, but I'm glad he's doing something, and something big at that. And with this book, we've been getting kind of the book of the month again. Different characters showcasing in this Hyde Street world. We obviously have 2 that are our main characters, and Mr. X-Ray, and I'm zoning on his name, but the Boy Scout there. And we got this creature at the end of last issue. So I guess big spoilers for last issue, but we got this creature who's this Frankenstein-esque monster that shows up and just seems more like a force of nature than a calculating person like the other characters we met. And we're going to find out more about him in this issue. And that's really what this issue is all about, is finding out who this monster is, who his character is, who he was prior to that, and how he fits in to everything going on in Hyde Street. So a lot of exciting stuff happening. I said it once, said it a million times. The first 3 issues of Hyde Street have been really great comics that really use the medium well and keep you intrigued month to month. And I've just really enjoyed it. The one-shot was fine, but I think if you want to dive into this world, check out these first 3 and now 4 issues and really give it a shot, because it's a great, great series so far. And after that, I have The Missionary number 2. This is written by Ryan Stegman with art by Jason Howard, colors by Tamra Bonvillain, and letters by Sean Lee. Tamra seems to be doing a lot of coloring work. Good on them. So, I don't do a lot of distillery books, mostly because a lot of distillery books don't grab me that well. I've tried a few, and I don't really like the... First, as a comic collector fan, it annoys the crap out of me having magazine-sized books. Like, I love it in a lot of ways, but the fact that it can't go with everything else, and I've got to like buy this special stuff for the magazine books, ekes at me in so many ways. It doesn't stop me from buying them, but there's, not the biggest fan of that method. But they do put out some interesting books, and some that do pull me in. There was a chip book recently, and so on and so forth. Ryan, as a writer, has been something that's been intriguing me for a little bit now. Ever since he went off with Donnie and did KLC Press, and they've done a few different things. More Stegman over the years because of because of Donnie's accident. And Ryan had to step into this role where he was creating, and he created this great book, Image, and so on and so forth, and he picked this one up, and it was a really fun comedy slash horror with a lot of Christian mythology mixed in, and then a little bit of like Spawn-esque superheroing. It's a very interesting book. I really much enjoyed. I am going to have to go back and find my first issue of it and reread it, because my other issue with Distillery and a lot of these companies right now is that first issue came out like 3 or 4 months ago. I get comics are hard to make. I understand the background of all this stuff. It's really tough to keep someone on board for a long period of time when, you have these giant gaps in between, and I just forget about the book and where the book is. And when I saw this on the list this week, I was like, oh yeah, the Missionary book. I love that first issue. So I'll definitely be going back and finding my first issue, reread it. But I just remember really, really enjoying it. It had a great twist at the end, and I want to see where they go with the story moving forward. So I think it's 3 issues. I know they just solicited the trade paperback for it. Maybe moving forward, that'll be my Distillery pickup as trades. But I think this is a really cool, fun book that people should definitely be checking out. And then we will end with Blade Forger number 1. This is written by Roy and Inaki Miranda, with art by Inaki Miranda, colors by Eva De La Cruz, and letters by Dave Sharp. More and more and more as Mad Cave expands and takes over the comic world, I have just been really intrigued, interested, and impressed with the kind of comics they're putting out. It really does remind me of when I first started getting into comics and I first discovered Image Comics, and just the breadth of creativity that was there and the quality of creativity that was there. And that's where we really are with Mad Cave, where almost everything they announce I can tell has quality. Even if it isn't for me, I'm just like, this looks like a really good book that I may not enjoy, but I think this person that I know will, or that person that I know will. And I've been reading so much. I think Mad Cave is taking over my pull list just with how many books I'm reading on a week-to-week basis from them. It's awesome, and I love it. I love to see a smaller company doing that in this field. And with this, we've got this kind of sci-fi yet Conan-esque world where there's this energy source that everybody's after. Tell me if you've heard this before. And people are fighting and warring over it to take control of this energy source. And then we get to a point in this book where the different lords of the land, the rulers of the area, have come up with a treaty to figure out how to do this more peacefully. And now we've got this guy who's this mythical swordsman in this world. And what does he do? Like, he's gone out there and slain every bad guy he's had to. He's fought all these great people, and now what does he do? Well, of course, he goes to the Colosseum and fights for his recognition. So it seems like there's a lot of cool things happening. There's going to be a pseudo-political nature to this book. There's going to be a lot of just interesting ties and threads to pull at throughout it. I can tell just from how they've solicited the book, how they've sent what they've said in the PR releases for it, all these things. So super excited to check this one out. I think this has the opportunity to be a really great Mad Cave Studios comic, and I'm excited to see if it holds up to the hype that I built in my head. So everybody, that was everything from this week. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to support me further, best ways to do it are chriscomicscorner.substack.com, where we do all the fun stuff there. Also, my podcast, The Fortress of Comic News, where every week we interview a comic creator. Some of the ones we talk about on this video series, some up and coming, some that are doing their first Kickstarter, their 100th Kickstarter, guys that have worked at Marvel, DC, all across the industry. We're talking to people and getting to know them. And if you want to support this video in particular, you go down to that like button, click that, comment down below what books you're most looking forward to this week. or what book on my list. You're like, how the hell is that on your list, Chris? Those kinds of things, put those in the comments, and then make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so every week you can watch these videos. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see y'all here next week.